Today on Fitness Under Fire, is Beyond Meat healthy? Hey everyone, welcome to Fitness Under Fire, a channel dedicated to debating current, topical, and often controversial topics in health and fitness. Now keep in mind that the sides of the debate are assigned randomly, so we're not necessarily giving this point of view that we truly believe ourselves, but we're always going to put the best foot forward, give each side the best argument possible so that you, the audience, can make your own decisions at home. My name's Christina and I'm the moderator today, and we have our debaters, Kat and Al, and they're going to be discussing the current topic of is Beyond Meat healthy?
All right, I'm ready for this one.
Yes, you've done all your research?
I have. I've been looking forward to this because I actually have not known what to think about Beyond Meat since I first heard of them like 6 months ago with the A&W commercials and stuff. But for those of you who don't know, Beyond Meat is a company, a plant-based company that is basically replacing hamburgers and your favorite meat products with a vegan substitute. And they've become quite popular. I think they're based
Even
out
Tim
of
Hortons and like
Tim
a lot of
Hortons,
people are having it.
A&W. I think they're starting to be sold in grocery stores over the last couple of years. And they're an LA-based company who's really now pushing this vegan state. So, are they healthy? All right.
By the way, you say vegan, but I never actually see the word vegan on them.
No?
They're not being, I don't know, maybe I don't see it, but they're not being marketed as vegan. They're
Vegetarian at least. So vegetarian at least, vegan at most. But, okay, fair enough. But the question is it healthy? Is it a healthy alternative? I'm going to be arguing yes, it is a healthy alternative. And I'm saying this from the point of view of someone who will admittedly admit I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian.
Nor have you tried a Beyond Meat burger.
No, I have not, but I look forward to my first. Okay, so first off, can we just agree that we're not talking about environmental health or moral health? I think the argument about environment is pretty well made, that animal agriculture leaves a very damaging footprint on our environment, but we're not getting into that.
But shipping and flying out the avocados, nothing at all, okay.
We're not getting into the environmental debate nonetheless. And the second argument that often comes from vegans and vegetarians is a moral one. And I actually think there's a fairly strong moral, an unassailably strong moral argument about preserving life that is sentient and not killing it. And that might be a debate that we can get into on another topic on another day. But we're just focusing on human health. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then, yes, this is healthy. And I have 2 points to make. The first one should be fairly obvious. This isn't going to be new to anyone, which is that meat for some time has contributed, and we've known is contributing to obesity and cancer rates. The World Health Organization put out statements, this was years ago, about both processed meat and red meat. Red meat was classified as Group 2A, probably carcinogenic to humans, which means there is limited evidence of a positive association that has been observed between exposure to meat and cancer. So that is something we have to take into account, and it's far stronger of a statement that they release about processed meats. When it comes to processed meats, and we can put this up on the screen, processed meats were classified as a Group 1 carcinogenic to humans. So that means there is sufficiently strong evidence of the carcinogeneity. Did I pronounce that right? Carcinogeneity.
You just made up that word.
No, I'm reading it from the World Health Organization's website.
I'll allow
That's the website right here.
Yeah, so that is how strong the link between meat and processed meats, more specifically, and cancer have been observed. And then I even took a look at Cancer Research UK. We actually spoke about them a little bit ago, back when we were having our debate about the warning signs about obesity and whether they constitute fat shaming. Go check out that debate if you haven't seen it already. But Cancer Research UK was actually even less equivocal than the World Health Organization. On their website, they make 3 explicit claims right at the top, and I'll just read them out. 1. Yes, processed meat can cause bowel cancer. 2. Eating lots of red meat can also increase the risk of cancer in general. 3. Regardless of how much meat you eat, cutting down will reduce your risk. And there's lots of ways you can do this.
Okay.
So, I got one last thing.
One last thing, okay.
One last thing. And so basically, you know, we're talking about switching away from meat that we know is associated with various diseases to meat substitutes. And in general, these ones are made of like pea protein, rice, beans, whatever they're made of. They're going to get you away from these harsh meats. The last thing that I wanted to point out is something that actually touched me personally. I'm a big fan of basketball and the NBA. And so it was quite interesting to me when I went to the Beyond Meat website, and we can pop this up on the screen.
Wait. Are they being sponsored by the NBA?
No, actually various players have become ambassadors to Beyond Meat.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
of their own volition, right?
Well, okay.
Money had nothing to do with it.
Good point. So I don't want to commit an appeal to popularity or an appeal to authority fallacy. I don't want to do that.
And yet you're doing it.
I'm gonna do a little bit of it. I'm just gonna say that a few of them who have gone meatless have noted some benefits to their health, and some of them are crediting Beyond Meat. Chris Paul, a 9-time NBA All-Star, quote, "I now have a Beyond Burger after every game to aid with recovery times and inflammation." It's a game changer, literally.
Yeah.
One more, DeAndre Jordan, another professional NBA player, 2-time All-Star. "Going plant-based was something that I wanted to change for myself, my body and my career, just my overall lifestyle. And my point here is, not that we have to listen to athletes or who we think are popular, but athletes have a particular say when it comes to knowing what helps with quality of life, inflammation, and those types of things.
That's right.
And they're saying Beyond Meat helped them.
And they have to be careful with those types of things. They don't want to be injured. That impacts their whole career. Wonderful.
Yes.
So I cannot for certain say that Beyond Meat is healthy. And no one really can. And the reason is...
Did you not hear me? Did you not hear what
No,
I said?
Because the reason you can say that is there has to be longitudinal studies, big studies. We actually don't know the long-term consequences of this. They have to have more randomized controlled trials, things like that. But my gut feel, just from, you know, my, let's say, my womanly intuition, I'm gonna say it's not the healthiest for you. So let's...
How does being a woman help you?
I don't know. In this case, it might not. But just my gut feel. Let's rely on my gut.
Gut feel. Your gut would be healthier if you ate some Beyond Meat burgers, by the way.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Do you have any research to back that up?
I do not.
Oh, okay. So you're just making those weird statements. Are you being paid by any chance by Beyond Meat? Just like your NBA friends.
Ridiculous.
Okay,
Meat
so
destroys the gut. We know this.
I look at a nice piece of steak. What are the ingredients of a steak? It's beef. It's a cow. I know where it came from. We even know from all those horrible Netflix specials how it's made. It's not really nice.
Antibiotics, hormones, those are in there.
Right, but we know what happens to that animal. We know the process of this.
Yes.
Beyond Meat, we don't really know the process. In fact, it's being really covered up. But aside from that...
Should I put on my tinfoil hat? Is this conspiracy theory time?
Absolutely. But even with that, just compare. Okay, one is beef, the other one, so Beyond Meat has 22 ingredients. There's another type of burger called Impossible Burger. It has 21 ingredients. Let's list off, I'm not going to list off all of them because, you know, we're timed and I don't want you to fall asleep. Let's have some. So you already mentioned soy and pea protein. That's perfectly fine. It's supposed to mimic protein content. I don't understand why you need a mimicker. Why don't you just eat regular meat and get the protein?
Causes cancer. You didn't hear what I said?
Refined coconut oil, vegetable glycerin. It has modified food starch, modified soy. It's called hemp, which was not approved as safe by the FDA until last summer. So that's not really nice. These are super processed types of foods. Now, we know that the North American or Western diet, 60% of it at least is processed. And if you compare individuals that have highly processed diets compared to those who eat whole ingredients, even if they are high caloric, high fat diets, compared to the highly processed, they are uniformly unhealthier than those the whole ingredients, even if It's high fat, highly saturated.
Okay, so let me just partially concede. Let me partially concede a point. I'm unequivocally against the over processing of foods. And you know, like anytime we're out in public or at a grocery store, at times we're at an airport, we're always looking for the least processed foods to eat.
Absolutely.
Very difficult to do at an airport sometimes.
Yeah.
So definitely, you know, like you're plucking at my heartstrings with that argument. I agree, and I concede that. And so I'm certainly not familiar, and I guess not a lot of people are, with the extent to which these Beyond Meat products are being processed, and the extent to which those may pose other health risks. But the question is, you can't compare it to nothing. You gotta compare it to our overly meat-saturated diet as is.
So why are we saying, so meat per se may not be the problem, it's the oversaturation where you have too much meat. Because we can both agree that meat causes obesity, can be linked with obesity, diabetes, cancer,
Yeah.
but so are highly processed foods. So if we want alternatives, I would suggest eating crickets, for example, or like, why not? You laugh at that, but there's so much protein.
I've done it, and they taste kind of like dried chickpeas. They're not bad.
Yeah.
And why don't you point out about how it tastes when you get a leg stuck in between your teeth?
That part was unpleasant. I agree. But you can be created. It can be ground down into a powder.
And you know, what I find interesting about this whole thing is that we're saying, you know, the meat industry is really, really bad. But who is pushing this Beyond Burger stuff? It's the meat industry. So
What?
you're asking them, yeah, it's these companies that are actually funding this. Look at the problems that they've created, and now they're like, oh, okay, this is a growing market. They're just doing this for money, and they're not caring about your health. So if you think that you're gonna get a better product, you're not.
Okay.
I'm going to say we might start making our final points,
Final
everyone.
remarks? May I go first?
Absolutely.
You know, your arguments are pretty compelling, especially to someone who is a meat eater and doesn't really want to give it up. I understand there's lots of issues that come with giving up meat. You want to make sure you get in your essential amino acids. You want to make sure that you get in your omegas. You want to make sure that you're getting in B12, all those types of things. Beyond Meat still represents, despite some of the arguments you're making, that it might be processed and that it might have other
It's not
ingredients.
mine. It is processed.
It still represents a step forward for a lot of people. Perhaps not you. Perhaps not a lot of people who are overly health conscious, but the vast majority of the United States who does eat overly processed meat products and who eats a ton of red meat in general. This at least represents a departure from that can aid health. Even if you're right that it might not be optimal. Because what I heard you saying in your arguments, which I generally do think there's some merit to, is, hey, this might not be the optimal diet, this may not be the be-all and end-all diet, and you might be right. I would never argue that a processed diet is the be-all and end-all. But anything that can get us away from this meat obsession, that can get people to heal their guts a little bit from this overly processed red meat that we're constantly consuming on a daily basis, is a step in the right direction.
The red meat may not be necessarily processed. If you're getting a slab of meat, that's perfectly fine. So I wouldn't say that that is a better alternative. And in fact, what you point out really is a good point, which is instead of changing your habits, people are so overly obsessed with trying to justify themselves and not make the right changes that they're trying to convince themselves that meat is bad and transform themselves into redefining what is meat.
And if that's human nature to do that kind of
That's not
justification,
human nature.
That's
Human nature is to sit on your bum and not go to the gym as well. It's hard. It sucks.
So
you know
give
what?
people an out.
Eat some red meat. Go to the gym and you'll be a lot healthier.
And on that note, that's all the time we have for today. But we want to know what you think. Is Beyond Meat healthy or is Beyond Meat not healthy? Let us know in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a sub, hit the bell notification, and we will see you next time. Bye.